up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel. For those of you who are new, my name is Sydney, aka A Shawty That Reads. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and press that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future literary content. In today's video, I am going to be giving you guys my book recommendations based on genre. I went on my Instagram story and asked you guys what you would like to see, and this is what y'all wanted to see. If you are not following me on Instagram, make sure you're following me at Shawty Reads just to stay up to date on all the most current content. I feel like this video is going to be a little bit long, so make sure you have your tea ready. Today I'm drinking, the hell did I put in here, y'all? Cinnamon, Damiana, chamomile, and a little bit of lemon. So let's get started. I'm going to go ahead and get started with my fiction recommendations. So definitely number one is Homegoing by Yagi Yasi. Fortunately, I don't have the book because I let someone borrow it, but it's such an amazing book. I would let anybody borrow it. If I could buy it for everyone, I would. This book follows the story of two half-sisters that are separated. One is sold into the slave trade and another stays in Africa. So you're basically following the family on both sides. And this book really dives into intergenerational trauma and how the slave trade really affected families on a personal level. It's so personal. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It's one of the most beautiful books I've ever read, and it will make you cry, and it will make you sit on the couch for a week and just think about your life. So that's number one. Number two is going to be The Mountain Sing by Nguyen Phan Ket Mai. I just finished this book about 2 weeks ago, and you guys, if you like Homegoing, you will love this book. So this is the author's first novel in English, and she is writing about a family living through the Vietnam War. So it is very similar to Homegoing in that you are seeing, again, the generational trauma from one parent to the next to the next. And, you know, it's, of course, always up to, like, the youngest one to break the generational curses. And this is just, again, so moving. It's poetic, lyrical. It will, again, make you sit on the couch and think. And I love the way that it's written in the sense that there's no enemy. You know, like, it makes you look at the Vietnam War in a different sense. Like, you really get to see humanity at its worst and at its best, but you still see everyone in this book as human, and I think that is one of the most important aspects of this book. So definitely, like, 10 out of 10, you guys. Love this book and would definitely recommend it for fiction. My third recommendation for fiction is going to be The Book of Night Women by Marlon James. And I specifically remember purchasing the book because on the cover it says, writing in the spirit of Toni Morrison and Alice Walker, but in a style all his own. So they had me at Toni Morrison, and it is very reminiscent of Toni Morrison novels in that it's very dark and he doesn't hold back at all. So yeah, definite trigger warning here. You're gonna read about, you know, just the degradation of the Black body in every sense of the word. So you have to be prepared. This is definitely a book that you can't, like, speed read through. Like, I needed to take breaks because it was a lot. However, that doesn't mean it's not worth reading. Because, you know, I always say, like, if you can't read books like this, like, imagine the people that had to live it. Because even though this is a fiction book, it's definitely based in truth. So if you want, like, a real look at what a Jamaican plantation would look like and what women on said plantation would go through, this book is it. Very, very good. The next genre I'll be giving my recommendations for is autobiography / memoir. So number one for this one is definitely going to be I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings by Maya Angelou. I truly believe that anybody and everybody can relate to this book, which is why I'm recommending it. And it's amazing. It's written with such grace and wisdom. You just want to soak in everything that she has to say. And the title just really rings true when you're finished with the book. And yeah, you guys, I love it. My next recommendation is How Dare the Sunrise, Memoirs of a War Child by Sandra Uwiringiyimana. This book is actually the book that got me started doing book reviews because it made me feel so much. I'm like, I have to tell people how good this is. So I did my first review on Snapchat and I'm like, you guys, you have to read How Dare the Sunrise. It's an amazing book. You will follow her story and how the war affected her and her family. And I just love reading memoirs because, they're raw, they're real, they're deep, they're true. So highly recommend How Dare the Sunrise. Now we're still in the category of autobiography, however, we're moving over to humor. So my first recommendation would be You Can't Touch My Hair by Phoebe Robinson, and all the other things I still have to explain. I love this book. She's hilarious. It just talks about so many things about having curly hair, natural hair, and it's like having to explain why you can't touch it and everything else that goes along with it. It definitely brings a lighter tone to something that can be like very hurtful sometimes, or very dangerous at times as well. So I really love You Can't Touch My Hair. The second recommendation would be The Misadventures of Awkward Black Girl by Issa Rae. I really enjoyed reading this book because I found a lot of parallels in the book to her show Insecure. So if you are a fan of her HBO show Insecure, I think you'll really enjoy the book. Even if you're not, she's really funny and her life is very interesting, and it was just a really fun read to read both of those. The next category we're going into is self-help / self-development, which may be my favorite, but I be switching up. So first recommendation, and also the most asked about book on my channel by far, is Thriving as an Empath by Judith Orloff, MD. Get it, girl. This is 365 days of self-care for sensitive people. So this is basically one of these where you go day by day and she gives you passages that you can read. And yeah, if you're an empath, this is great. If you're not an empath, it's great. It can give you a little more insight into people with heightened sensitivities. I love it. This book really changed my life, and it's honestly something that I read every single day. I cannot get my day started without reading my Thriving as an Empath. So definitely number one recommendation for self-help. My next recommendation is The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. I recommend this book to everyone because it teaches you about self-love in its entirety, what it looks like, what it doesn't look like, how to really love yourself and what that really means, because I think that a lot of us are confused and lost and don't really know where to start. So that's why I love this book. One of my favorite passages is on page 99. It says, "You have to focus on the most wonderful relationship you can have, the relationship with yourself. It is not about being selfish. It is about self-love. These are not the same. You are selfish with yourself because there is no love there. You need to love yourself and the love will grow more and more. Then, when you enter a relationship, you don't go into it because you need to be loved. It becomes a choice. You can choose someone if you want to, and you can see who he really is. When you don't need his love, you don't have to lie to yourself." Read it! My next recommendation in the self-help category is All About Love by Bell Hooks. This is actually one of the books that I sell on my website, purpleskiesbookstore.com, because I think everybody and their mama should read this book. It is life-changing. It will make you look at love in an entire new light. She gives the definition of love, which is to nurture your own spiritual growth as well as another's. So going back to the mastery of love, can you enter a relationship if you don't love yourself? Can you nurture another spiritual growth if you have not nurtured your own? No. So these books make you take some accountability, and they make you really look at yourself and the relationships that you're in, the relationships that you have seen growing up. She explains that love and abuse cannot coexist. I think that's very powerful. So yeah, you guys, basically I think we're all out here like dazed and confused, and All About Love will really get you right. in terms of how to truly love another individual. My next recommendation is You Are Here by Thich Nhat Hanh, another book that I sell on my website because, again, this book is life-changing. And for me, it was a very subtle change, but the way that he explains meditation in this book is so different to me. So he explains doing everything with mindfulness. So when I say you will never do the dishes with a bad attitude again, I mean that shit, y'all. I really do. Because he just explains how you should take every moment to really be in the moment. Like wash your dish. Thank your body for being able to stand up and do that. When you're walking, breathe in, breathe out with every step. Feel what you're doing. When you hit a red light, instead of being like, oh my God, this is the 15th red light that I've hit since I got home, take that as a moment to be like, let me pause and get back to the present moment because, was I driving on autopilot before I hit this red light? What was I thinking about before I hit this red light? And now I can take a moment to recenter. It gets real deep, you guys, but very, very simple. All of Thich Nhat Hanh's teachings are so simple, yet so grand and inspiring. And like I said, life-changing, highly recommend. My next recommendation in the self-development category is Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. So this is how the courage to be vulnerable transforms the way we live, love, parent, and lead. So Brené Brown is a shame and vulnerability researcher along with many, many other titles, but she explains how we need to discuss our shame and be vulnerable in order to be courageous leaders, parents, and life livers. I just love her because she's hilarious. Number one, any book that I read by her, I'm literally laughing out loud. And she's very relatable, which I think is so important with this type of topic, shame and vulnerability. I definitely want it to be delivered by someone who's able to actually do that. So yeah, I would definitely recommend any book written by Brené. I started off with The Gifts of Imperfection. I read Daring Greatly, and now I'm currently reading Dare to Lead. So I just think she's great if you are trying to, build your leadership skills because there are actionable and tangible ways to do so, according to Brené. My last and final recommendation in this category is What a Time to Be Alone, The Slumflower's Guide to Why You Are Already Enough by Chidera Igeru. I love this book because it's definitely written for the younger generation. Try not to be a prick today. So it's full of her own original artwork. But don't think that just because it looks fun, it's all fun and games. This is definitely a serious self-help book. And I actually read this in one sitting. I saw it on my bookshelf and I'm like, I should probably read that. Sat down, didn't get back up until I was done because it was amazing. I like this book because it tells you if you need to block someone on social media, block them. You don't need to explain yourself. If you need to distance yourself from somebody, do so. You don't need to explain yourself. If you've had a run-in with some narcissists, read this. But I also like it because she's calling out everyone to take some accountability. So it's if you have people distancing themselves from you, you need to look at yourself. If you are going through it constantly or always having negative experiences, you need to look at yourself, who you're hanging out with, what you're thinking about, what kind of person you are. She's coming for everybody in this book. And I like that because it's impossible to read this book and have an ego. The next category I'll be giving recommendations for is poetry. So I want to start off with Black Imagination, curated by Natasha Marin. I don't think this is technically poetry, but they are stories from Black people that she interviewed from around the world that she put together for us to read. I see it as poetry. It's all beautiful. So reading from the book, it says, we agreed to collect sound from Black folks of all kinds and craving nuance over stereotype. We sought out Black children, Black youth, LGBTQ plus Black folks, unsheltered Black folks, incarcerated, neurodivergent, as well as differently abled Black folks. Using field recorders, we spent months collecting responses to 3 prompts. What is your origin story? How do you heal yourself? And describe/imagine a world where you are loved, safe, and valued. You guys, reading these responses is just, oh my God. I will read one for you. This is from Tamara Boynton Howard, living in Seattle, Washington, USA. It says, as I walk, I smile and people smile back. There is always a seat at my favorite coffee shop and no pee on the floor when I go to the bathroom. Airline tickets are free for me so I can travel anywhere I want, whenever I want, and there is always a friend nearby. My ego is a sewage and my heart is full of love. I have unwarranted confidence to live the life of freedom I deserve. Micromanagement does not exist. Not only do others trust me, but I trust myself to lean into my desires. My next recommendation in this category is We Want Our Bodies Back by Jessica Care Moore. This poetry book really captures what it feels like to be a Black woman in America and what it feels like to own something that you still feel like isn't yours, hence the title of the book. Every poem will really, really hit you in the right spot and really make you feel something. And as y'all know, I love books that make you feel something. All right, y'all, so my last and final recommendation for this video is actually in the home organization category, but it is the life-changing magic of tidying up, the Japanese art of decluttering and organizing by Marie Kondo. This book changed my life in terms of how I fold, how I clean my home. I'm definitely a minimalist now. I do not have a bunch of stuff for no reason. So this book will really help you clean out your house in a way that makes sense, because it does get overwhelming when you're like, okay, I just need to clean and you have all this stuff. So she breaks down how to do that in the most efficient way. So then when it is time to clean your house once a week, you're not doing an entire, let me get rid of this stuff, let me clean this up, and then you get distracted by stuff that you've had for 15 years. You got to do all that to start, get rid of all your things, and then you can start the home organization and such. So love this book by Marie Kondo. Thank you guys so much for watching. Per usual, every book that I mentioned will be linked down below in the description box. Like I mentioned earlier, please make sure you are subscribed so that way you don't miss out on any future videos. Breathe easy.